In the vast expanse of the Bay of Bengal, where the Indian Ocean meets the Andaman Sea, lies North Sentinel Island, a tiny emerald jewel surrounded by coral reefs and turquoise waters. Here, on this remote speck of land, lives one of the world's last uncontacted peoples, the Sentinelese. Their story is not just one of isolation, but of remarkable resilience and unwavering determination to maintain their ancestral way of life. The dense canopy of tropical forest that blankets North Sentinel Island conceals a people who have called this place home for an estimated 60,000 years. The Sentinelese are believed to be direct descendants of the first human populations to emerge from Africa, making their way across ancient land bridges to reach these distant shores. Through millennia of isolation, they have preserved a way of life that has remained largely unchanged since the Stone Age. From the few brief glimpses afforded to the outside world, we know the Sentinelese are expert hunters and gatherers. They craft arrows, spears, and harpoons with remarkable precision, using materials found only on their island. Their boats, hewn from fallen trees, allow them to fish in the lagoons that surround their home. These simple yet effective tools have sustained their society for countless generations. The Sentinelese's first documented contact with the outside world came in 1867, when an Indian merchant vessel, the Nineveh, was shipwrecked on their reef. The survivors' accounts spoke of a people who fiercely defended their shores, emerging from the forest with bows and arrows. This pattern of protecting their isolation would become their defining characteristic in all future encounters. The British colonial period brought more attempts at contact. In 1880, a British officer named Maurice Vidal Portman led an expedition to the island, managing to temporarily capture 6 Sentinelese, an elderly couple and 4 children. The elderly couple quickly fell ill and died, likely from exposure to outside diseases against which they had no immunity. The children were returned to the island with gifts, but the damage had been done. This tragic encounter may well have reinforced the Sentinelese's resolve to reject all future contact. Despite the passage of time and the march of modernization across the globe, the Sentinelese have maintained their isolation with remarkable determination. Their island, approximately the size of Manhattan, remains their entire world. They appear to want nothing from modern civilization, defending their shores with the same vigor their ancestors displayed centuries ago. In the 1970s and 1980s, Indian anthropologists made several attempts to establish peaceful contact. Led by T.N. Pandit, these expeditions would leave gifts of coconuts, bananas, and metal tools on the beach. Sometimes the Sentinelese would accept these offerings. Other times they would respond with warning arrows. But never did they let their guard down enough to allow sustained contact. The 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, which devastated coastal communities across the region, raised grave concerns for the Sentinelese's survival. However, when Indian Coast Guard helicopters flew over the island to assess the damage, they were met with a familiar sight: arrows flying through the air. The Sentinelese had survived one of nature's most powerful forces, demonstrating once again their remarkable resilience. In November 2018, a tragic incident brought worldwide attention to North Sentinel Island. John Allen Chow, a 26-year-old American missionary, attempted to make contact with the Sentinelese against all legal restrictions and warnings. His diary entries revealed a young man driven by religious zeal, determined to reach the isolated tribe despite knowing the risks. Chow paid local fishermen to take him near the island, making several attempts to approach the Sentinelese while offering them small gifts. According to the fishermen's accounts, they watched from a distance as Chow faced the tribe one final time, only to be met with arrows. His body was never recovered. This incident sparked global discussions about the ethics of missionary activities and the fundamental right of uncontacted peoples to remain in isolation. It also served as a somber reminder of why the protective buffer around North Sentinel Island exists, not just to protect the Sentinelese from the outside world, but to prevent any more lives from being lost in attempted contacts. Modern satellite imagery reveals no permanent structures on the island. No houses, no temples, no monuments. The Sentinelese likely shelter in temporary lintas or caves, moving around their island according to seasonal patterns we can only guess at. Their population is estimated to be between 50 and 400 individuals, but the dense forest canopy keeps their true numbers a mystery. The Indian government has established a strict no-contact policy, making it illegal to approach within 5 nautical miles of North Sentinel Island. This protection extends to both the physical safety of the Sentinelese and their right to reject contact with the outside world. Their immunity to common diseases remains dangerously low, making any contact potentially catastrophic for their entire population. In our age of global connectivity, where nearly every corner of Earth has been mapped and documented, the Sentinelese stand as a reminder that there are still mysteries in our world. They represent not just an uncontacted tribe, but a direct link to humanity's ancient past, a people who have chosen to maintain their traditional way of life despite the encroachment of the modern world. Their story raises profound questions about civilization, progress, and the right of a people to choose isolation. In an era where indigenous cultures around the world face unprecedented pressures to assimilate, the Sentinelese have managed to preserve their independence, their traditions, and their way of life. As the sun sets over the Bay of Bengal, the shores of North Sentinel Island remain as they have for millennia, protected by a people determined to maintain their independence. The Sentinelese continue their ancient way of life, hunting in their forests, fishing in their lagoons, and defending their shores from intrusion. They stand as living proof that there are still places in our world where the modern age has not penetrated, where an ancient way of life endures, unchanged by time and untouched by the outside world. In choosing to respect their wishes for isolation, we honor not just their right to self-determination, but also preserve a unique chapter in the human story, a living connection to our distant past, and perhaps a humbling reminder of the different paths human societies can choose to follow in our complex world.